The Sonar Interim Report is organised around the climate and nature emergencies and the responses society can make to them. We need your help in gathering the evidence to set out what can be done to address these emergencies. I'll talk you through the main themes in the report in terms of the challenges to sustainable management and in terms of the evidence we need to gather to inform the responses that Wales can make. The Sonar Interim Report is required a year before the full Sonar report and is there to describe the emerging changes in evidence on sustainable management of natural resources and to describe any newly identified evidence gaps. The evidence on where we are with sustainable management has been neatly summarised in the United Nations reports and the linked climate and nature emergencies, and these form our two strategic challenges in the report. Looking at our first challenge, the climate emergency, we can see since the Industrial Revolution, humans have released 1,500 billion tonnes of carbon dioxide through burning fossil fuels. That's led to a rise of 43% of CO2 in the atmosphere, a level not matched for 3 million years, and you can see the resulting rise in temperatures on the graph. In response, national governments are facing pressure to go beyond the commitments made as part of the Paris Agreement in 2015. In November, the COP26 meeting in Glasgow aims to do this. We know we need to drastically reduce emissions by 2030, and every degree of warming we avoid means a more livable planet. The COP26 meeting could be our best chance to accelerate action and change our current course. Looking at the nature emergency, we can see in the last few decades the rate of extinction of species has been between 100 and 1,000 times greater than the geological norm, a speed not seen for 65 million years. Looking at the global system shown on the graph, the danger threshold of a sudden tipping point has already been approached or reached for the nitrogen cycle, greenhouse gases, biodiversity, and for phosphates. In response, the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity will meet this October in China for a once-in-a-decade meeting. It's proposed that almost a third of the world's oceans and lands should be set aside by the end of the decade to stop and reverse biodiversity decline. There's also a 20-point draft plan which aims to introduce controls on invasive species and reduce pollution from plastic waste and excess nutrients by 50%. The United Nations International Panel on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services report says that there is still time to address these linked emergencies, but it states that transformative changes are needed. They flag the importance of raising awareness about consumption, protecting local environments, promoting local economies, restoring degraded areas to strengthen ecological networks, having well-connected protected areas, catchment protection, and incentives and sanctions to reduce pollution and eliminating others which damage biodiversity. It says that changes in production and consumption of energy, food, fibre and water are needed. So in looking for transformative change, the IPBES state that goals for conserving and sustainably using nature and achieving sustainability cannot be met by current trajectories. The goals for 2030 and beyond may only be achieved through transformative changes across economic, social, political and technological factors. The UN Global Environment Outlook gives food, energy, transport systems, urban planning and chemical production as primary examples of systems of production and consumption that need to change. According to the IPBES, this change can be brought about by conserving, effectively managing and sustainably using terrestrial landscapes, and also improving the sustainability of economic and financial systems. So these two form our strategic responses, green infrastructure and the circular economy. So looking at the circular economy first, here's a model of what it could look like. It seems obvious that we can't continue to have an economy which takes in raw natural resources in the top and spits out waste at the other end. If everyone in the world had the same lifestyle we do in Wales, we'd need 2.5 planets. We only have the one. So transformative change is needed to alter the direction of our economic system and alter our current model of economic development. The second of our strategic responses is green infrastructure. and we need to recognise that our civilization is built on the services we get from nature. We can't keep transforming natural capital into other forms of capital, such as the built environment, without cutting off the flow of benefits from nature on which we depend. We need a model of development built around ecosystem services and not on top of them. We need to feed information on the green infrastructure which is providing us with ecosystem services into the town and country planning system and into rural mechanisms such as agri-environment schemes. The IPBES report says that transformative change is facilitated by innovative governance approaches that incorporate approaches such as integrative, inclusive, informed and adaptive governance. We need everyone feeding into this conversation. The Welsh policy framework is already built around these ideas. The Environment Act and our Wellbeing Act set out a systems approach. The range of challenges to sustainable management of natural resources and the possible responses detailed in SONAR fed into Welsh Government's natural resources policy and are implemented via policy and area statements. So we have a circular system that people can feed into that influences policy and action on the ground and then looks for changes that have resulted from that. SONAR is not limited in its remit to NRW's remit or even devolved policy, but it's simply there to take a systems approach and capture the connections to what's relevant. We need everyone's help to pull this together. NRW are writing the report, but it's a report for Wales and we need everyone's ideas included.